Live from Orlando, Florida, you're listening to the Orlando Magic HQ podcast, the voice of Magic fans. Join us every week for a unique fan perspective on all of the latest Magic news and updates. The show starts now.
What's up, Magic fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Orlando Magic HQ podcast, brought to you by the Believe Podcast Network and Bet Online. We're your hosts, Al, myself, Anthony. Today is Friday, October 4th, and the Magic just got done with their media day for the new season, and they are now knee-deep into training camp. And we're fortunate enough to be represented at media day with Al and BJ going out there. Al, man, what's going on? How was your experience out there?
What's going on, man? It was great. It never gets old, man. It's like going to school for the first time, as a new year starting. You get to see everyone there, all the media personalities. You get to see the players. It's always special, man. It never gets old being able to be there. So again, a big thanks to all of you that listen to the show, that follow our content, because we're there because of you all. So thank you for that. But it was great to hang out with BJ, get to experience it once again. And the big theme, man, the big theme that kept coming out of Media Day really was the culture that we're building in Orlando. That was just, again, we keep hearing about that year after year. It's getting louder and louder. But just the fact that from the front office, the coaching staff, the players, it's all about they want to be here. They want to see this thing through. They want to keep improving. They want to keep developing. So it's special to keep hearing that, because for many, many years, man, in Orlando, we had no culture. We had nothing kind of setting us apart from the rest. I feel like now, just like you hear about, Heat culture and all these other teams having something unique about them. I feel like the Magic are building that in Orlando finally, and it's here to stay. So it was a great experience. Ready for sure for the games to start here next week. And we'll talk about some of the quotes that we heard in Media Day, some of the things that we took as takeaways. But again, it was always that never gets old being a part to be able to be there and experience it live.
Yeah, it was fun being able to see all the guys together, because it's part of our yearly tradition of getting ramped up going into the season. We got our first preseason game coming up pretty soon, so it's good, man. You were able to see what this new Orlando Magic team looks like with the addition now of KCP and with De Silva now on the roster. So it's exciting. I already feel the adrenaline a little bit as the season is so close. And we're gonna break down some of the actual quotes that we saw in training camp between Jonathan Isaac, gaining weight this offseason, adding some muscle, adding some strength, to some of the comments from Jeff Weltman, and some of the comments that we've seen so far in regards to KCP and what people think so far of their new teammate, Tristan Da Silva. But before we get into all that, just a quick word from our sponsor, Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, has every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our 200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200K. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. In addition to us discussing about training camp, I did want to kind of rewind a little bit. We didn't get a chance to speak about it on our last podcast, but some updates to some of the uniforms that the Magic will be wearing next season. I want to get your thoughts on it. So the very first hit, obviously, Pat Williams recently passed away, and the Magic do plan on honoring him by wearing a patch on their Magic uniform. And then the Magic also release. They didn't release it just yet. We received the leaked image of the Orlando Magic City Edition jersey, Kingdom on the Rise. That looks like we're wearing the exact same uniform from last year. It's just now the white alternate version of it. So start off there, man. How do you feel? How do you like the way the Magic are honoring Pat Williams on their uniforms? And what were your first initial thoughts on the League City Edition jersey and the new NBA Cup court that we're going to be, playing on as well?
Yeah, so first things first, Pat Williams, I think it's the right thing to do. I love the fact that we'll have the patch there with his initials. Um, I think that it's, again, something that needs to be done. He needs to be honored. We are here today because of him. I think they have to do more things for him. I don't think this is it. I think we'll see more and
Agreed.
more happening throughout the season, but it's a great start. So love that. As far as the city editions, what we saw based on the leaked images, to your point, I like it. It's just a different tone to last year's uniform. Instead of saying Orlando, it now says Magic. It has a star in there. I wasn't expecting much. It seems like this City Edition versions run for 3 years. I think we saw three orange City Edition jerseys. Now we've seen three versions of the dark blue Kingdom on the Rise City Edition jersey. So this should be the last one. So I'm not surprised to see them, to be honest with you. I wasn't expecting much either. So to me, I do like him. And I also like him a little bit better than last year's. But we'll see how they play out when they're actually on the court, when we actually see them in person. But so far, it is what it is. I mean, I wasn't expecting much more than what we got. NBA Cup court, not a big fan. We talked about it at length last year. I'm not a big fan of all these colors, all these crazy things the NBA is doing. I wish they just had a regular court with a big like trophy, in the middle, like back in the NBA final days, back in the 90s, 2000s, when they would do that. That would be different, but that would be cleaner. That would be more of a professional look, I guess, for the NBA. But they keep trying this like NBA 2K custom created courts. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not a fan of it. But it is what it is. We got to see them live when they actually release them, and we see them live on TV in person. So indifferent about that. But what about you? What were your thoughts on the jerseys and the court?
Yeah, so I mean, as far as the jersey, I do like the white alternate option. I think it looks cleaner than last season's. I will say that one of the things that really I haven't been too crazy about is the star that the Magic use that's replacing the A. It's kind of tilted a little bit, and it looks a little fatter as well. Not a fan of it, but that's what the City Edition uniforms are. It's for every team to find a connection with the city, right? That's the theme of it. But it's also a way of, you know, being creative, being different, and having a completely different uniform than what the set is. And part of the issue with that is that, eventually you're going to run out of ideas. You already look at some of the ones that we've had, the space theme, then going into the orange, and now, this Kingdom on the Rise. And it was cool at first. Like when we first, when they had first announced that, Nike was taking over and they're creating this city theme, that seemed cool. Every year you were getting a new jersey. But now it's in my opinion, a little too much. No one's asking for that anymore. And for the most part, a lot of these city uniforms they're watered down. Collectively, they're not good designs. And I don't mean specifically the Magic. I just mean the NBA in total. I think the Magic could have done worse. Like it's not a bad design. I just think that I like our class. If you're gonna give us like alternate uniforms, like I love our classic uniforms, but Nike has their own set of rules of when we can have what jerseys and when, which I'm not too crazy about. So I don't know. I like them better than last year, but we just gotta stick it out for a year, and then we're off to the next design of whatever it may be. But like, what's next? Like where do the Magic go from here? We joked about them having some type of lime green uniform to honor stuff the Magic Dragon. Like at some point they're gonna have to go into something like that because they're already hitting everything else. Like I have no idea what other direction to go from here. So I like it better than last year. Obviously I really don't care for the city uniforms. Now the court, I will say I like the league court this year more than last year. I think last year was I wasn't too crazy with the jersey, the courts in general for the NBA, because everyone had their pretty much the same design. It was just a really bold colors. Like the Chicago Bulls was insane. The whole entire court was bloodshot red, and it was horrendous. So it looks like they're calming that down a little bit this year. which I like. So, every year they improve a little bit more. But I am excited for, the NBA Cup this year. I think that, last year surprisingly was a lot more exciting than what people were expecting. So all this to kind of kick off the season is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, man, I love having actual games that matter early in the season, right? Because
Early
for
on.
years we knew that those months of November, December, January, it can be rough. For players stay engaged, fans stay engaged. Fans don't care until maybe after football is over. This is a way for them to actually get engaged early in the season, support their team. So I love the fact that the NBA did this. So yeah, man, I'm excited too for that.
Yeah, let's get into some of these quotes. So we're going to start off with the head honcho, P5, Paulo, on the primary goal for the upcoming season, was quoted saying, "My first year, it was to win Rookie of the Year. The second year, it was to be an All-Star. But I think really what I want is to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, get deep into the playoffs." So I'm going to take this one first. For me, you can ask for something better than that, right? Paulo Banchero coming into the NBA, didn't expect to go number one, became number one, and really earned his what he has in terms of popularity. Right? There's still a hunger for more because people are still talking about Victor Wembanyama. Right? Paulo Banchero is probably the most underrated number one pick that has performed. Since I don't know, I can't even think. It's just insane how much he doesn't get love that he deserves. But the fact that he's kind of turning this into like I don't need that for me. Like I want us to be successful. Goes to show you how important last season was for us to make it into the playoffs and take that series to 7. Like there's a level of hunger now that these guys want to be able to push the envelope more, because this is now our second season where there's expectations in the postseason, and this guy's talking about the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, we're not even saying, yo, hold on, like, yeah, that's a little too eager. Like, no, hell yeah, this is the way that you should be talking. And even more so now that we recently heard the news that Karl Anthony Towns is now being shipped out to, the New York Knicks. So the East isn't a soft conference anymore. Like, the East is going to be tough. You got to deal with the Giannis and the Dames. You got to deal with now, the rising Knicks who have Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. You have to deal with, Philly and Paul George. So the East is not, a walk in the park. And for him to have that mindset, you can't ask, anything more from your key guy.
I think the fact that, again, he's one of our young players. Of course, he's also the face of our team. You got to just simply love the fact that he's not thinking about personal goals right now. He's not thinking about being an All-Star again, All-NBA. He could easily go that route. Repeat the All-Star game, make the NBA All-NBA team. No. He's talking about the team making it further in the playoffs. And he ended up by saying, get deep in the playoffs. Of course, East Finals, I think, is the goal for them. He wants to get there. But just the fact that he said get deep in the playoffs, I think to me that means second round and beyond. That should be the goal for us. We made it to the first round. We barely lost that game in Cleveland. It still hurts, the fact that we were up by 18 and we ended up losing that game. So we were right there. So I think it's a realistic goal. We talked about it last week in our episode. The East is going to be tough, but you are one injury away, 2 injuries away to one of those teams that make the playoffs to all of a sudden have a chance to get there. Look at Indiana last year. They did it. Why can't that be us? We're building something special in Orlando. We really, really are. And I love the fact that from the top guy, one of our youngest guys, this is the mindset that he has, and telling the team already, we're not here to just make the play-in or just make the playoffs. We have a bigger vision for our team. So I love the fact that this is what he's saying on day one.
Yeah, and then Paulo is the type of dude that he's been nonstop since he's made it to the NBA, right? So All-Star to Team USA, like he's been super active. So it's nice for him, or nice for us to be able to see how much more he's able to stretch his game out and develop more. Like I remember Mike Miller in a podcast that he shouldn't be talking on, was kind of talking about how, the goal now is for Paolo Banchero offensively to take it up a notch, like to start averaging more than 30 points a game. And Paolo Banchero is an offensive juggernaut, man. Like, we know that, he can do that. But how does he do that while still getting everyone involved? How does he do that without hindering the team flow or playing hero basketball? And that's one of the great things about Paolo Banchero is the fact that, he's never, like, I've never felt watching him saying, like, yo, you need to relax or pass the ball. Like, he finds a way to be active and still be the primary person while still, doing it in a collective, which is huge. And in order for him to be successful and be able to do that, Franz Wagner has to be right up there with him. Like, this is, 1A, 1B. And, Franz, some of the quotes from him from training camp was, him saying that he's really worked on his shot in the offseason. Franz Wagner said, getting the mechanic right, my mindset too, I think that's where it starts. He added that his contract extension doesn't change the pressure. I always put a lot of pressure on myself, and that didn't change that. So Franz Wagner is big money, man. He got the dollars. We paid him, and his shot looks good. His shot looks fluid. Here's the thing about Franz. Franz has always had good mechanics. It's just last season was a really rough season for him shooting. Even international play, his shooting didn't look great either. So, we're really hoping that, he can sit here and say that he's worked on it in the offseason. Honestly, my man hasn't had a whole lot of time this offseason because he's been busy, right? So, what does that really look like? How does that translate? I'm really excited to see, how he's able to take that challenge on, dead right, because we need him in order for this team to be successful. That our 3-point ball has to get better, and he's gonna have the ball lie in his hands. We're expecting him to shoot, a solid clip. Is he able to do that efficiently? And I think that that's one of the things that, is going to be a big, huge question mark going into the season.
Yeah, man, I think that if Franz, like we talked about it last week briefly too, if Franz can just shoot 35% from 3-point range, game changer for us. Simply because you cannot afford to just simply back off of him and go double team on Paolo, go double team on other guys. You have to stay with him. So the fact that he's putting in the work, we know he was going to. That's one thing about Franz that is not a surprise to anyone. He's a hard worker. He got paid the big bucks, but in my mind, it was never a worry about him not figuring things out. He had a down year last year shooting the ball. I don't think that's who he will be as a player. A sub 30% 3-point shooter. I hardly doubt that. So I think we'll see that go up this year. We've seen some videos from training camp where the shot looks a lot more smooth, more fluid this year, tighter motion, a higher release, where last year the shot just looked flat at times. Like he didn't have the legs for it. This year, at least in media day, in training camp, what we've seen so far, it looks much better. So hopefully they'll carry over. Hopefully it is true that he can put in a ton of work and that it will pay off in the season, because if he can do that, man, that will make us a more dangerous team all around.
Yeah, Franz rookie season shot 35% from the 3, sophomore 36, so it got better, and then a huge slump last season shooting about 28%. So it's not going to take much for that shot to improve from a percentage standpoint, but we definitely want to see that early on from him. Jalen Suggs had a lot of positive things to say this offseason. He looked like he gained a little bit of muscle as well. Suggs on what motivates him. With the excitement level we have from the fans and the passion they bring, I want to win for them. I want to see the parades coming through these streets. That's what I'm visualizing. He also talked about him wanting to be here in Orlando long term, and talking about how he doesn't want to be anywhere else. That was kind of the big question mark that we have right now, is what's up with Jalen Suggs' extension? How much, what's the price point that we're looking for Jalen Suggs? Like, what's the market looking for? So it's good to see him in good spirits as well, because him having a breakout season last year is really something that you can point to say, that's one of the reasons why the Magic were so good last season. It's part of the reason why we surprised a lot of teams. And it was also good hearing things from Wendell Carter Jr. talking about the dynamic between Jalen Suggs and KCP. pretty much saying like, man, I feel bad for any ones and twos that have to go up against that duo in the season because, they're not letting up on the defensive end and they want to play defense. There's passion on that side of the ball. So really awesome to hear from Jalen Suggs and kind of seeing their dynamic with KCP. And, if he can replicate a little bit of that early on, just a glimpse of reminding people that last season wasn't a fluke, it's going to be easy money. To empty out all that pocket from Alex Martins, man. Give all that money away because Jalen Suggs is a key part of this core, and we need him to feel comfortable.
Yeah, man, I don't think none of us are surprised to hear him say these words. The fact that he wants to be here in Orlando, no surprise there. Love seeing the fact that, again, just like Paolo, one of our young guys, here's Suggs also saying the same thing. I'm envisioning parades in the city of Orlando. Like, again, these guys have a goal, have a vision that is the same for all of them. So you love reading that, seeing it as a fan. Another thing I'll add too is Coach Mosley saying that Jalen Suggs has been doing a great job in training camp so far, directing the team as a point guard, pushing the tempo, making the plays, basically telling him, be the quarterback out there, get the ball, run, and you make plays. And he's been making all the right reads, all the right plays. So remember game 1 of Summer League when Jalen Suggs debuted in Las Vegas a few years back. I think it was 29 points, I think 7 assists, whatever it was. But he looked in control. He was a point guard. He knew his role. Guess what, man? We're back to that. Jalen Suggs is the point guard once again. No doubt about it. The ball will be in his hands a ton. So hearing the fact that he's doing a good job so far, he's adapting, he's putting a ton of work, working on his point guard skills this summer, that they're paying off already. That's another thing, man. You talk about Franz hitting shots. Well, if Jalen Suggs can play make a little bit better and make it easier for Paolo and Franz and the rest of the guys, that's another game changer for us. So you think about, man, we didn't make that many moves last year. What happened? KCP is great, but he's not that big dog that we wanted in free agency. A big part of me still thinks the improvement of this team will come from the development of Paolo, Franz, and Jalen Suggs still. Those guys getting better a little bit at a time. Each year that passes is what will make us be, a 7th seed to now a 4th seed. A 4th seed to hopefully a top 3 seed in the East in the near future. It's those guys continuing to get better. So love the fact that we're hearing these things about Jalen Suggs. We want to see him win. Again, don't forget our reaction when we got him a few years back in the draft. We were so excited for him. To see it come to fruition is simply amazing. So hopefully he can replicate last year, and hopefully here before October 21st, we'll see him get paid.
Yeah, Jalen Suggs also mentioned that during the offseason, he went over to California and was working out with former assistant coach Phil Handy of the Lakers. And, working on his ball handling. And that's one of the areas that, for him to be efficient at the point guard position, got to get better with the ball handling. He has the defensive side, that 3 balls hitting, but if he can really, grasp, mitigating those turnovers and getting more players involved and, being a better playmaker, man, you're talking about another element of how this team can improve just through development, and that's going to be huge. Not saying that his time with Phil Handy is going to completely change him as a player, because we kind of know how these third-party training kind of goes, but it was also fun hearing Jeff Weltman kind of talk about that process during his interview with the Pod Squad, just kind of talking about how when our players go with a third-party trainer, that they're still in line with the vision of the player, or what their vision is for them to be developed with the team. There's a connection there. So, the Magic are sending their guys out to make sure that that we're still involved in some element, which is pretty cool to see. Because imagine, you're sending, Jalen Suggs or another player to, work with a third party coach, and they're working on something that doesn't benefit the Magic whatsoever. So it was good to kind of hear that aspect from Jeff Weltman. And then, kind of transitioning into Jeff Weltman, he made a comment where I thought was really interesting, where he talks about how if the right opportunity presents himself for us to take a leap, we'll take it. And one of the things that you'll kind of look when it comes to the competition in the East You look at Boston, you look at Milwaukee and New York and Indiana. In terms of the elite teams in the East, we're the only teams that haven't cashed anything in. Like we're the youngest team in the East in terms of teams who are winning and performing. OKC's on the West, and they're another team that hasn't kind of cashed anything in. So, if something does pop up this season, and the Magic, are able to find a way that makes sense, both long term, and being able to help win now. It's good to hear from the man himself that if something makes sense, we'll chip it in and we'll take it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like the fact that he said, we truly are now opening up our championship window. Like he really believes that their next step is to go deep in the playoffs. And their vision, has shifted from rebuilding, seeing the guys just fully develop into we want to win. And I think his response was to a question around what happens if, we start winning games, we're in a good trajectory. What do we do with this team? And that's when he said that, if the opportunity comes for us to improve the roster, we'll take that chance and we'll do so. So it's refreshing to hear because, again, many of us have been kind of wondering, when is that going to happen? We've been saying this for now at least a year. Hey, like we have a ton of picks, a ton of young guys. At some point, you have to consolidate some of these young guys and make some tough decisions. And we'll get there eventually. So it's good to hear that he's already kind of acknowledging that we're going to get there eventually. And man, I don't know about you, but I fully trust the front office. I think they haven't done anything in the last 2 to 3 years that I can say to yourself, like, man, like they made us worse with that move. We questioned the AB pick. We questioned the Jett Howard pick. That's something that's still up in the air. Let's see how that plays out. I still think long term, those are guys that, I may be wrong on this, may be packaged in the future as young assets with picks to get a talented player to Orlando. We'll see what happens. But at the moment, that is the only thing I can think of that I'm like, wait, like, was that the right move? We'll find out. But other than that, man, the trades they made, the moves in free agency, they've been very smart. They haven't done anything to harm us heading into the future. And guess what? This is our opening of the window's just opening right now for our team. So the fact that we have everything at our disposal to get better, it's special. So I think the best is yet to come. And the fact that, again, that he's acknowledging that is refreshing to hear.
Yeah, and then some of the videos that we've been seeing online as well when it comes to training camp is some of the rotations that we've been seeing. So we've been seeing, starting, this is kind of things that we expect: KCP, Franz, Paolo, Wendell, Jalen Suggs, and then the bench unit, Anthony Black, Cole, Gary, J.I., Mo Wagner. Are you okay? So you kind of mentioned it, a few moments ago with AB and Jett Howard, but Jett Howard not being a part of the rotation, does that still bother you, being such a high pick?
I'll be honest with you, it does. And I was going to ask you a question later on in the episode, which was, all positive things, right? Media day, training camp. That's what it is. This week, it's all about positive thinking and all the positive things that people are saying. But one thing that concerns me a little bit is AB's role, and especially Jett Howard's role on this team, because that kid putting a ton of work in the G League last year. Not sure if it was by choice, but he did it. He putting a ton of work this offseason to earn some minutes. And it seems like, as of right now at least, he will be a third string player once again. And that's rough, man. It's a young kid. You don't want to put that. It reminds me a little bit of Mo Bamba. Like, we just kept him on a leash at all times. One mistake, you're on the bench. One mistake, you just don't play. And you don't want to do that to a young kid. You want to give him a chance. So I really thought initially Gary Harris was going to be a guy that was a vet in the locker room, a voice in the locker room, but it wasn't going to maybe play initially over Jett Howard. We're seeing that's not the case. I don't know how I feel about AB, Cole, and Gary being the point guard, shooting guard, small forward. It's a bit unique. AB would have to play, I guess, small forward on defense. Hopefully, point guard on offense. We'll see how that goes. But that's the only thing, man. Like, I love Gary Harris. He's always getting hurt, though. So you may see that he plays 10 games and then Jett Howard steps in later on. So we'll see what happens there. But I was hoping, at least early on, we'll see Jett Howard be given the chance at least to win that spot. Maybe he will in preseason. We'll see what happens. But as of right now, it does not seem like he'll be out there as a bench player as of right now. What are your thoughts on that? Any concerns with chemistry, kind of the mindset that he may have heading into the season? And also AB as well, because AB seems like a backup point guard right now. Do you think we'll see him as a backup point guard or a wing player?
Yeah, so it doesn't bother me whatsoever that Jet Howard is not in that second unit. He's exactly where I expect him to be, and we've heard Mosley already kind of talk about this throughout some of the interviews, where he's saying that our identity is on the defensive end. If you're going out there, you're not playing defense, you're not going to see the floor. And even more so when you have guys out there that are passionate about the defensive end. When we drafted Jay Howard, we knew that defensively there's some flaws. He's a gifted shooter, but if you're not playing defense, you're not going to see the floor. And he's going to have to win people over on the defensive end. People know that he can shoot. People know that he's a crafty he's crafty with the basketball, but defensively he's going to have to go out there and he's going to have to slow people down. So I'm not worried about it. And honestly, Gary Harris, the minute that we picked up KCP and we re-signed Gary Harris, there was no part of me that said Gary Harris is not going to get any PT. Like, he's not playing the Joe Ingles role. He is somebody that was in our starting lineup last season, who had issues with staying healthy, and that kind of caused a lot of concerns throughout the season and kind of towards the end a little bit. But now you put him in a position where he's able to replicate what he did for the starting unit for the bench unit. And you look at a bench unit that it's going to be pretty heavy defensively. Jonathan Isaac, Anthony Black. Do I expect Anthony Black to play point guard? I hope so. Right? This is what we drafted him for, right? To be a big size point guard. So I hope that he does. I hope that we give him a chance to develop playing the point guard. But if not, he's big enough to where he can play 1, 2, 3. What I really want to see from him is consistency with his shooting behind the 3-point line. I also want to see him be an offensive threat. So can he be aggressive offensively? We know what Cole Anthony can bring. Can he be consistent? He is somebody that we leaned on so much to carry the heavy load offensively for the bench unit. Can he do that consistently? And what we get with Mo Wagner and then Jonathan Isaac, can he stay healthy? One of the big things with Jonathan Isaac that we've seen is that he's gained some weight. So he finished last season at 219 pounds. Now he weighs 250 pounds. So my question to you is, to make such a big jump, 30 plus pounds, are you concerned? Does that weight concern you? Now we know that Jonathan Isaac hasn't been chilling on the sofa eating some Doritos and just not putting in the work. Jonathan Isaac put in the work. This is muscle that he's built, right? And now Jonathan Isaac, he's not a rookie anymore, man. He's a full-blown vet. So now he's also going into his man body. So, you put a little bit of him maturing and a little bit of, muscle building. He's at 250 pounds. So what are your thoughts on him getting that weight?
I mean, this was the goal when he first came into the league. We always said it, like, he's a great defender, just so skinny, right? Like, we always worry with his legs and all these things. And unfortunately, it ended up being true. He was hurt a lot. But what makes it different this time, he's been putting on weight throughout the years, getting stronger and stronger. It's a big jump. Don't get me wrong. 30 pounds is a big jump. He'll have to adapt to the new weight. But he seems, man, well built. When I saw him at media day, he doesn't seem like he's just upper body. Like, he seems like he's well built this time around. The body it's there now. He's 26, 27 years old. He's no longer a 19-year-old kid that just gained 20 pounds out of nowhere. Like, it's been a work in progress to get him to this point. So I think that injury concerns, I'm not concerned there. I still don't think the Magic are going to play him, 35 minutes a night. I still think they'll be putting him on a leash, watching him on back-to-backs and things like that, which sounds crazy to think about 3 years after he got hurt. But thankfully, we got Paolo, we got Franz, we got Wendell, we got Mo Wagner. We got guys that can provide him that ability to kind of take it easy. and then ramp him up once again as we head to the playoffs. Um, so I'm not concerned there. My question to you is, will we see Ji play the 5, not just a little bit, but like a lot more, knowing that he gained that much weight now? He can bang more inside with certain bodies, big bodies of all the teams. Do you think we'll see him either be a backup 5 at times, or if Wendell gets hurt, which again, unfortunately, has happened many times in the past, is he the one that we kind of call up and be the starting 5 in those situations?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that the Magic hang their hat on is versatility, and I think that we talk about defense, but versatility is also one of our things that we can point at and say is our part of our identity, it's part of our DNA. I think that we will? Absolutely. I think that Jonathan Isaac is such a gifted defender that, Wendell has also shown, unfortunately, that, we can't bet our home and say that Wendell's going to have a full-blown healthy season. We also can't say that about Jonathan Isaac. So unfortunately, when it comes to our big men, there's some concerns health-wise. I think that the weight is the muscle is going to help Jonathan Isaac stay healthy. Just to kind of put it in perspective, Kevin Durant, who's a very similar body build to Jonathan Isaac, weighs 240 pounds. So, it's in 240 pounds Giannis and 240 pounds Kevin Durant are two completely different body types, right? But at the same time, like, this is going to allow for Jonathan Isaac to bang a little bit. Victor Wembanyama was asked, recently, who are 3 people that he would like to dunk on, and he listed, now I can't think of the names, but he listed 2 other players and he listed Jonathan Isaac. Jonathan Isaac caused him headaches, right? I think he mentioned Rudy Gobert, and I still can't think of the other guy. But Jonathan Isaac was on the list. That's the only name you need to worry about. Jonathan Isaac is somebody that has created this reputation of being a great defensive player, to the point that when people see Jonathan Isaac, his presence alone is altering shots. Now you're adding more weight to it, to where now he can really defend these bigger bodies, the Rudy Goberts, the Nikola Jokic. Like, he's able to guard these players a little bit better than what a Wendell Carter is able to do. Wendell Carter has the weight, but he doesn't have the height. He's still an undersized big man that's better suited to play the 4 than the 5. So who knows, man? I wouldn't even be surprised if, down the season we see a starting lineup change. Who knows if Jonathan Isaac takes that over? We don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with timing, with health, with consistency. Do I believe that the Magic are going to do exactly as you said and monitor his minutes and keep track of his health, and maybe he won't play those back-to-backs 100%, and you do it. This isn't year 2 of Jonathan Isaac anymore, or year 3 where we're betting on, like, we need him to be healthy to be successful. If he misses, knock on wood, a good substantial amount of time, man, we got players ready to step up. We got Tristan Da Silva ready to go, who, Wendell Carter Jr. Was complimenting him in an interview, saying that he's looking like Franz Wagner out there. So I think that the weight is going to be great. I hope that it doesn't slow him down. I hope it doesn't take too long for him to get adjusted to his body size and weight. But I think that it is awesome news. There's 2 things that you get excited about for a player that big. They either grow taller or they grow wider. And the fact that we still don't know how tall Jonathan Isaac really is, but the fact that he's gained muscle is scary season.
Yeah, man, we've been saying for a while now that we're missing a guy that can protect the rim, as a 5, and that can just catch alley-oops, right? Jai is that guy. If you put a little more weight to him now, a little stronger to box out better and bang inside a little more, he could be that guy for us. And to your point, I wouldn't put it against the Magic. If December, January comes around, Wendell gets hurt once again, Jai steps in and he does really, really well, he never goes back to the bench. Like, that may also happen. So we'll see. I do believe the Magic front office, coaching staff have told Wendell, hey man, we know you had injuries last year. You had a down year. We want to give you another chance to go out there and prove yourself. But realize there's guys behind you that are ready to step in as well. And I think that means, yeah, in particular, we paid him a bunch of money this offseason. So he's here for a while, making the big bucks. If he stays healthy and can stay healthy, it's there for the taking for him. So we'll see what happens there. But again, I don't think injury will be a concern because of the weight gain. Hopefully we're right on that. And I'm excited to see this guy, go out there and just be a crazy guy on the defensive end. Because again, when he played last year for us 15 minutes a night, man, it was a difference maker. In those 15 minutes, we will go from down 5 to up 10 easily. So now you add to that, AB play more minutes, a great defender, Jalen Suggs, KCP, Wendell, NJI. It's scary what this team can really be if they can all, click at the same time and continue to develop. But JI will be a big part of that.
Absolutely. Preseason is right around the corner. We take on the New Orleans Pelicans at 1:30 on Monday. It's literally a couple days away, and we got Magic basketball back. It's crazy. It went by so fast. Wednesday, you got a preseason game against the Spurs at 8 p.m., followed by Friday, right up against the Pelicans again at 7 p.m. So you got games Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3 games in 1 week. Then you got some key dates to remember. October 21st will be the last date that the Orlando Magic are able to agree to a contract extension with Jalen Suggs. You got opening night against the Miami Heat on October 23rd, and then a home opener in Orlando at the Kia Center against the newly rejuvenated Ben Simmons-led Brooklyn Nets. So circle that on your calendar as well. A lot to be excited about. Season is literally a couple of days away. Really excited. That's a wrap for us, man. Appreciate everyone listening. Show was presented by Bet Online, and we're back to week, so we will catch you guys next week.
For all the latest Magic news and updates, visit OrlandoMagicHQ.com and follow us on Instagram at Orlando Magic HQ and on Twitter at OMagicHQ. Also, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your favorite listening platform.